Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to Love Zone Mondays with Kathy B.
And welcome back, Sports Nation. Welcome back. You're listening live right here on Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We are now into our first hour of Love Zone Mondays. So now, let me tell you about my amazing guest. When I tell you, ladies, that I have been fiercely waiting for this gentleman to come into the studio to speak with us, I have. He is going to give us some great and wonderful information. I am going to be speaking with Mr. Bashea Williams. Now, just a little bit about Bashea before he comes in. He is described as an intellectual emotionalist, someone who understands what a man thinks and what a woman feels. Now, I love that. Helping two of them meet and have common ground by encouraging emotion and logic to a degree. Now, he also is a dedicated father, licensed social worker, a blogger, relationship advisor, and writer. And he also works with at-risk children. He specializes in individual, couples, marriage, and family therapy and parent coaching. He also writes about life, love, and fatherhood. His work has been featured on several popular websites and national syndicated radio shows, television, and movies. And guess what? He's now on Source Radio Network Love Zone Mondays. I do believe that Bashea Williams is here in the studio with me. Bashea, hello, and welcome to Love Zone Mondays. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am excited to have you, too. Of course, you know, I did not give you bio justice, and I tell you why. We've had the wonderful opportunity really to begin to share you, Bashea, with all of our family members here at Source Radio Network and definitely the Source Nation family. But if you will, please, could you take a moment to introduce yourself, and we'll jump right into the conversation from there.
Sure. You did a good introduction. I like that. That's my bio. But I am Bashea Williams. I call myself an intellectual emotionalist because I think men think logically, women react emotionally or use their emotion. But I think both of us can agree. We both have the same traits. We both have the capabilities and ability to meet each other and have successful relationships where we can talk about it, we can feel, and we can just be successful in everything that we do when we desire partnership or whatever we're trying to go for. Like you said, I'm a social worker by trade. I'm a single father of an 11-year-old boy. That's my man. That's it for now. I mean, we'll get more into it. But besides the introduction and what I just said, I think that's a pretty good description of who I am.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being here on Love Zone Mondays. It's definitely a pleasure having you here. And, of course, Source Nation, all of us information will be out on Facebook. You can go to Kathy B Source Radio Network as well as our main station page, Source Radio Network, and reach out and connect with him because I know that he's going to share some great things with us tonight. Well, tonight's conversation, and this is a very timely conversation, Bashea, and the reason why I say that is because I belong to several single groups out on social media, and one of the things that the ladies and myself, we often talk about is we want protection. We want to feel protected when we are with the man that we love. And sometimes we just don't get that, and we don't know how to express it, or when we're expressing it, it comes off like something else, like we're being needy, so to speak. So I want to talk about that and get your thoughts. So I actually went to your website, and it was an amazing article. Just like I said, it was very timely when this conversation took place. So it was something that you had already put out there. But I want to give Source Nation an opportunity to not only get your thoughts, but understand what the article was about and why you wrote it in the perspective that you did. So, of course, Source Nation, the article that we're going to source tonight is from Bashea's website, and the name of the article is 5 Ways a Woman Needs to Feel Protected. So let's go ahead and jump on in, Bashea, and talk about that. And why is that so important? Because, like I said, I was in my singles group, and a lot of us women were just saying that we need that from our men, but we just really don't know how to express it. What are your thoughts?
Right. And it's funny you said that you got that from a group or a Facebook group or whatever group it was, a singles group. That's exactly where I got it from as well. I was part of several Facebook groups where they talk about relationships, whether they're single or they're a couple, married, whatever. And it seemed to be the theme that everyone was talking about is protection and what that looks like to a woman. And it was a lot of banter back and forth between men and women. Like, I want to feel protected. Does that mean you have to beat somebody up anytime somebody sees you? Or is it just having a stature? I remember having a conversation with someone I was dating years ago, and she said she liked being around me because she feels protected, just the basis of my stature. But she didn't know if I could fight or anything like that, but it wasn't about that. It was about everything outside of that and what it looks like to be protected, to feel protected, as far as like the 5 things I said: mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially. And I just tried to break those things down so it gives an all-encompassing definition or response to protection in the eyes of a man as being the protector of the relationship of the family.
I love that. And I want to go ahead and break those down, because I think that when you speak of, especially, there are 2 areas that I can identify with. I'm divorced and will be divorced this coming August, 8 years. And I know in my marriage, at the end of the marriage, financially, we had a problem. And that's where I noticed that I wanted to feel protected by my husband at that time, and it wasn't there. And then the mental area of our relationship wasn't strong either, because we really couldn't handle communicating. So let's talk about that and get a good understanding of all 5. Now, mentally, why was that so important, and why do you feel women, and I really don't want to say just women, because I think sometimes men may feel that too, but let's get your point of view. What are your thoughts about mentally, and why is this so important at this point in regard to protection?
Well, I think this day and age, a lot of us are in our thoughts, and we don't express how we're feeling well. So we might just respond verbally, but not really tell someone what we're thinking. And I think it's important for people to be mentally connected when you're in a relationship. So if a woman says she's not feeling this, or she can't express her feelings, she doesn't have the safety to tell a man what she's thinking. And we often will have disconnects in our thoughts, but it still doesn't mean that's the end of a relationship, because people will check out mentally, and then the emotional part comes, and then the physical part comes. But if you can mentally connect and just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, can we talk about this? And not immediately shut somebody down because they're not agreeing with your thoughts, or you're thinking 2 polar opposites of one particular subject, doesn't mean the end of a relationship. It just means that you guys need to hash it out. And you don't always have to agree, but you have to come to a common ground, and there's respect, and there's understanding, and there's honoring each other's thoughts.
That's true. Okay, I want to read what you stated here, because I think that this is a good follow-up to what you just said. You said a woman's thoughts need to be safe in your response. This will be evident by your ability to listen and understand. She needs to feel you're mentally connected and thoughtfully stimulated by her thinking. Being able to express what she's thinking to you and letting her know it makes sense. She will ask and wait for your response. And I think that is very, very true. As a woman, that is the first thing that I would want my man to do in reference to me and being protected and feeling protected, is to really begin to hear me as well as listen.
Right.
Because when I call to a point where I feel like it's a concern, then yes, I want to talk about that. So I think that is very important. Now, with that being said, you said something that I think that is important as well. When people begin to check out of a relationship, let's talk about that, because I find that to be very, very serious. Again, that's something that happened to me. What are some of the signs? Because I'm sure everyone is saying, okay, someone's checking out of the relationship, but how do we know that they're checking out of the relationship? What are your thoughts about that?
So I know people always ask, what are the signs of somebody checking out of the relationship? I can't give a blanket statement or just a general statement with that. I mean, of course, there's some things as far as there's a disconnect. You guys aren't speaking. You guys have something planned and somebody doesn't show up constantly. They're not answering the phone. They're not meeting you physically where you need to be. Presence is not there. Those are the basic things. But as far as checking out, I think sometimes we overanalyze what that means when somebody is just not having a good day. Or what that means
Okay.
when someone says, I just need some time to figure some things out. And not in the sense where you're neglecting the partner that you're with or the person that you're with. It's that I need to clear my thoughts. You know, for me, sometimes I need a day, and I call it self-preservation. It's a day where I just disconnect from the world, but I always communicate prior to that. Okay, this is my day where I disconnect from the world, and I just need to get in my own thoughts. But I'm not checking out of the relationship. I'm not checking out of our communication. I'm just checking in on myself for a minute. And we have to be able to communicate to that to our partner so they're clear of what you're doing. And
Right.
so when you say check out, I mean, you might be, you know, constantly every day talking to someone and you guys, the conversation is flowing. And then one day you don't hear from them. If that's not communicated that, you know, okay, today I need a day to just chill, then that's alarming because that is what it would seem like. It would seem like rejection. It would seem like you're inconsistent in what you just gave me for the last week. So what's going on? Is something, is everything okay? And that's where communication comes in, because if you don't have that communication, then everybody's left in their own thoughts and feelings. It's like, oh, something is wrong. So how do I fix it? Where are they going? So I think, like I said, communication is key, and it's the checking out is individual. People have their own ways of checking out. And I think, like I said, there's some generic stuff, but, you know, it's based on the person that you're with. If they're inconsistent in their behavior, then you can start to, you know, question, hey, what's going on? Is everything okay? And do a check-in before they check out.
I love that. I love that. And that is something that I believe in a lot in my conversations, especially, you know, now that I'm trying to get back out on the dating scene. Of course, I go back and I take a look at some of the things that I didn't have in my marriage where I feel it's very important, and I think it's very key that you are able to communicate those things up front and just let people know, you know, look, this is who I am and this is how I deal with certain things within a relationship. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you have to communicate. You have to be able to communicate and talk about what your needs are and what's going to work with you, as well as give the other person the opportunity to say the same thing. Are we speaking the same language there, Bashea? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. I like that. Let's move on to emotionally. Now, the one thing about emotionally, Bashea, and I may be wrong, and I have no problems with you telling me, no, Kathy, we got to go a little bit deeper than that. So feel free to do that. But when we think of emotionally, I think of the connection part. What's making that person happy, or what deterring that person to move a little bit further in the relationship with you. So just understanding what their desires, needs, and wants and all of that. Am I correct on that, or is it a little bit more that we all need to look at when it comes to the emotional side of the relationship?
Yeah, there's parts of that that's definitely valid, and I think it is always deeper. And I think once the person who's going into the relationship, we all have to do our own work to understand what our emotions are, like, how it feels, and how we, you know, utilize how we live off of our own emotions. And it goes back to communication too, being able to communicate to your partner, okay, this makes me feel this way. This is how I respond. This what, you know, contributes to my happiness. So I always say, don't give the authority to someone else of them making you happy. They don't own your happiness. They can loan you a smile, but they don't own your happiness. And I think there's a difference, because if they have the keys to your happiness, if they do something wrong, your whole world is upside down. And then you're trying to find another way to replace that happiness, and then you're just all over the place, and you're looking for other things, and that's when, you know, checking outcomes, different things happen in that process. So I think it's very important that whoever you're dealing with, you explain to them, okay, I already know how to make myself happy. I'm just looking for you to complement my happiness, because there'll be disappointment, but that doesn't mean the end. There'll be times when they make you sad, make you mad, but how can you recover from that? You know, at your core, you're happy, but you can still communicate with the person, okay, let's get back to, you can say, our happiness together. And I think there's different relationships within a relationship. There's individual and there's couples.
Now, I want to stop right there because you said something that was so key and very deep also. Understanding your very own happiness. And I think as people that are transitioning, and I use myself oftentimes to say as an example, because it's very hard when you've been in a marriage and then all of a sudden things go south and you know that you wanted that marriage and now you find yourself out there on the dating scene and you have like no clue. That's me.
Okay.
That's me.
Okay.
So I use myself as an example because I actually went through an array of things, of feelings, and I realized, okay, in order for me to get out here and at least enjoy it, I got to understand who I am now as a woman, as a mother, as a single woman, and someone who's desiring to be in a relationship one day. I got to get through all of this, so I got to understand who I am and what makes me happy. And I think that is so important. Also, I feel if you don't recognize that, and this is man or woman, if you don't recognize those things, when we speak of a subject like this, feeling protected and all of that, if you don't recognize that, then when you are into the relationship, I think these areas will be more of awareness for you. I want to use the word potent because it's going to hit you. Slam in the face if you don't understand it. So I think that is so important for us to recognize that, understand who we are as an individual first, and then build from there. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree, and it's a lot of times I know the scene is totally different for you now than what it was when you were before you got married.
Mm-hmm.
Just the climate of dating relationships is totally, I guess for me, is out of whack. And that's why I'm trying to do some things different to kind of get people back to, I'll say, traditional relationships, but relationships with yourself to understand, to have better relationships with other people. So getting back to what you were saying is really understanding yourself. And a lot of people are dependent or depending on other people to make them happy, because they haven't taken the time out to figure out what their happiness looks like. Or they see it somewhere else and they say, I want that happiness. I want to look like that couple. But all they're seeing is the highlights of that couple. They're not seeing everything that they went through. They're not seeing what the emotional investment into it. They're not doing themselves justice by really understanding themselves. If you spend some time with yourself, you understand what you like. So when someone comes to you with something that you're not okay with, it's easier for you to walk away from that. It's easier for you to not invest into something where you know it's not going to go where you need it to go.
Love that. Source Nation, we are speaking with Mr. Bashea Williams. He's given us some great information tonight in regard to this great subject, which is 5 ways a woman needs to feel protected. Of course, all of Bashea's information and more can be found on Kathy B, Source Radio Network, as well as our main station page, Source Radio Network. If you're just tuning in, Bashea is an intellectual emotionalist. He's someone who understands what a man thinks and what a woman feels, helping the two meet and have a common ground by encouraging emotion and logic to agree. He's also a father, a licensed social worker, blogger, relationship advisor, and writer. So I want to jump back in, say, if I may, to this amazing, amazing article. And again, thank you so much for writing it because, again, it's very timely. I want to talk about spirituality and why that is so important, and why do you feel women look at this area when it comes to protection? What are your thoughts?
Well, for me personally, before I get into women, well, I know once I got my relationship right with God, everything else fell into place. When I was able to go into my corner, when I wasn't trying to be or look like the world, my relationship with God made everything else make sense. Whatever holes that were missing, being able to go to Him and talk made things make sense. Before I make decisions, I pray about it in the morning and the day goes along. Of course, it's not perfect. Of course, there's some challenges. Of course, there's some disappointments and everything. But I know at the end of the day, I know who I can talk to. And I think that's the same thing. That spiritual connection, when your foundation is, if you're raised to have a spiritual connection, then you're always looking for that with the person that you're planning to spend the rest of your life with. That's a deeper connection than surface stuff, because that spiritual protection, because you know when he's not there, he's still praying for you.
Oh,
When
yeah.
he's not there, he's having this conversation with God, and you know God is always looking over you. The angels are always protecting you. So if you have somebody that's praying for you, that's a powerful thing. I mean, they used to have, the song like, I got a praying grandmother, or, praying mother, or whatever those sayings were. To know that your man is doing the same thing that your mother and your parents used to do, that they really invest in you spiritually, then that's a deeper level of connection, because you're praying to the same person and you're having that same investment into each other.
I love that. Great information. And as you were speaking about that, this is one that I think that is very, very powerful with what you just said. You said here under spirituality, when a man finds out your insecurities, he has two options. He either pray over them or he pray on them. So there's a difference of P-R-A-Y and P-R-E-Y. And I think that is so important. And I'm going to be honest with you, Bashea, that's one of the things that I said in my next relationship. I need a man in my life that can not only pray for himself, pray for me, but pray for us both to grow with God together in our relationship. And I am not compromising on that. If you can't do that, then brother, you better step off to the next side, because I ain't got time.
I get it. I understand.
So I think that is so, so, so important. Good information there. Let's talk about financiality, because I think financially is where most of what we desire to have in a relationship is what breaks that relationship also.
Right.
Especially in a marriage. Oh my God. It seems like it's just death doom in a marriage if you don't know how to take care of it. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree. The financial responsibility is key in a relationship. And I talked about it in a sense that there's been a shift in money earning power, and women are making a lot more money than what we're used to. And, sometimes it's an ego thing. It was like, well, she makes more than me, so she thinks she's going to have control over me and stuff like that. And then there's a situation where, some women say, like, if you're not making this certain amount, then I can't mess with you because I work hard to do this and I do that, and I'm not selling it for less. But two people could be making two different levels of incomes or amount of income and still be able to do the same thing, because it's about the money management. It's not necessarily about the money earning to a certain extent. Of course, if there's a huge gap, then that's a different conversation. But being able to protect a woman financially is being smart enough to say, let's save for this. We don't need to get this right away. Let's take our time. This is going to lead us into a lifestyle of debt, and that's going to be creating a different stress that we're going to be fighting to get out of on top of other relationship problems or relationship issues. So having a long-term investment financially with someone and, telling your significant other, your wife, that these are our goals, let's do this, and we'll contribute to a savings together for the family. Like I said, you'll have individual savings, but then you'll have family savings. What are our goals and how are we going to get there? And I think that's very important in a relationship, because it breaks down differently. If you have one person spending all the money and one person bringing in all the money, then there's unequal thoughts and there's unequal behaviors, and the marriage is lopsided.
I agree. And let me ask you, when you're speaking to your clients or either on your speaking engagements, when you think of all of these things, of course, we hadn't touched base on just one, but the ones that we spoke about prior to financial, what are some of the things that you've heard? Have you seen where an area has been a part of the conversation where the couple or individuals just didn't know how to handle it or didn't have the information to carry forth in the relationship? Have you seen that or talked about that?
Definitely. I think like one of the major things that I'm talking to when I have either an individual or a couple and the issue is as far as the man's emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And my last speaking engagement, a gentleman, he's in a relationship, and he came to me and said, so I need to ask you off the record. He didn't want to ask the question in front of everybody else, but he said, how do I communicate emotionally when I grew up in a home that we've never talked about emotion was non-existent? Like, how do I learn how to be emotionally evident in the relationship? Because I don't have any emotions. And I told him that you have emotions. Emotions are natural. Emotions are just there. You've learned how to hide them. You've learned how to express them or not express them. But you just have to understand that that's not what she needs. She needs for you to show some type of emotion, show her that you care. You know, you don't have to just lash out because we're taught to just be angry. Angry is okay, and, you know, just being able to be macho is okay, and that emotion is okay, but not being emotionally connected to the nice side or, you know, the lovey-dovey, as they call it, side.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're not taught to do. Women are taught to do that, but men are taught to just show the bravado and be tough in everything. So
yeah, that's right.
It's about meeting your partner and also your lady being able to allow you to be emotional when it's just you two.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not many times that a man will show that emotion if it's not received well. So he'll give opportunities, like we'll give opportunities to say, okay, this doesn't make me feel this way. This makes me feel bad. This makes me, you know, this is hurting me or whatever. And if the response is, well, you need to man up, then that's what you're asking for. Then you can't come back later and say, why are you so hard? Why are you so rigid? Why aren't you able to connect me or show me how you're really feeling?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the communication lines have to be open. But I hear that a lot. He's not emotionally invested in me. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know how he's feeling. He doesn't say it. And the man says, well,
Right.
you know, I'm just chilling. Right? It doesn't bother me. But we respond differently. We just don't communicate it. That does bother me.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of holding it all in.
Right. Good information. I like that. The next area was physically. Talk to us about physically and why would a woman feel unprotected in this particular area?
I think it's a culmination of all the things. So there's, like I described before, there's that physical presence that a man has. So I think for me, of what I've seen and what I've heard from women who express this to me, is it's not just your stature, it's your response to other different things. Are you secure enough to make a decision? Are you all over the place in decision making?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you, you know, showing someone that I can be stern and I'm not just going to let something just happen to me and just brush it off my shoulders and just not respond in a way that says, no, I'm not okay with this. So I think there's other ways of showing how you can protect a woman physically and just, you know, whether it's a situation where she's not feeling well and you just hold her. That's physical protection. Physical protection isn't always being a bodyguard and, you know, having a fight with someone. It's that physical presence of actually being there also allows for a woman to see that, okay, there's some physical protection there. He's here. He's sitting right beside me. He's not visible. So there's so many different layers with that, and I think people get it immediately. The conversation always like, can you fight? That's what they communicate online. Can you fight? Like, at some point, you shouldn't be fighting. I mean, your physical presence is like, why are we doing this? Like, I'm almost 40. I'm almost 50. Why am I fighting? Why can't I just have a conversation? Or you can say, babe, let's walk away from this situation. Or just avoiding situations altogether. I mean, that's a physical, you know, thoughtful protection as well.
And I like that. And I'm so glad you said that because I made that statement in the group where I said, you know, I really wish that my husband at the time would have fought more. And someone said, what do you mean? You want him to fight somebody? I said, no. I wanted him to fight for the relationship. I needed him to meet me on that path where he could literally see I was trying to fight for our relationship. I was trying to be the best wife that I could. I understood that infidelity had presented itself in the relationship, but I wanted him to see, I'm going to forgive you, but we got to work at this together. And that's what I was saying. I said, if he would have just fought more, I said, when it came to the financial situation, when I lost my contract with Fox News, his whole concept was, we just built this daggone house. Now we got a $2,500 mortgage. You expected me to pay it, And I'm just like, if he just would have fought for that, we could have figured it out. Yeah, sure. I might not have been able to put the check in the mail physically, but if that meant we had to tighten up some areas of what we were spending so we could make that $2,500 mortgage the next months after that, however, we would have done that. And that's what I was saying. I said, if he would have fought more, but at the end of the day, if you're not going to do it, then you might as well leave. And that's what he chose. He wasn't going to do it, so he left. So with that being said, I certainly understand all areas of what you were speaking on within this article. And I find it important enough, and I'm going back to this, Bashea, because I've heard you speak it in this conversation. Communication is so important. And to me, if you do not have that in your relationship, then you don't have anything. I think that two people that are wanting to be together, that are wanting to say that we love each other, that are saying that we are in this relationship, they have to understand that. So let me ask you, Bashea, how can we begin to communicate more and communicate effectively if we know that these areas that we mentioned tonight in this article are lacking? What are your thoughts?
I think, you said it, communication is key to the relationship. Communication is key to every relationship. Communication isn't just talking. Communication is listening as well. There's active listening, where you're actually listening to the person that you're talking to, and you're listening from a position of understanding where they're coming from, not in a position of ready to respond or ready to stick to my guns because I know I'm right coming into this. And I said something before where I said you come into a conversation unprepared.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you come into a conversation unprepared, then you're ready to listen. So whatever comes to you, you're saying, okay, let me think about what this person is saying, feeling, and what they're trying to relate to me, instead of already having your notebook just waiting for a key word and to respond to that key word. And sometimes when people hear communication is key, they tend to over-communicate. And when you tend to over-communicate, that means you're not really knowing what you want, or you're not getting what you need from that conversation. And you are trying to drive home your point. It doesn't matter what the other person is saying. No, I need you to hear me. I need you to get this. Because they can repeat what you're saying just out of, having a good memory. But are they repeating what you're feeling? And I think that's different than repeating what someone's saying, because your reaction is different when you really get it. And that doesn't mean, again, that you're always going to agree with someone, but you're going to take the time out to really understand. But the person that's saying the information also has to really be sure with what they want to communicate. Because sometimes we just say stuff and we don't really mean it. So I think the communication is not just verbal, it's physical. You guys can have a whole conversation by just looking at each other in a situation and connect, because you know each other. You spent some time with each other and you really have a good understanding of the person that you're with.
Wow. Great information, Bashea, that you have given us tonight. Definitely, I love what we just spoke about. If you will, of course, as we are wrapping up tonight's show, if you will, we like to leave either with some encouraging word or maybe some tips and advice that we have not shared in tonight's conversation. If you wish to do that, I would love to extend an offer to you at this time.
Well, most of my information, I'll just give a plug real quick. You can find my articles, Dear Future Wife series, my trademark Dear Future Wife, but you can find my articles on my website at www.basheawilliams.com. And I write about pretty much everything that has to do with a relationship or your relationship with yourself, whether it's parenting, individual, family, couples, all of that on my site. And I put it in a way that you can receive it on the level that you understand it, whether it's attached to your emotion, because I try to bring the emotion out first, and then you can latch on to that. But if I were to give someone some information, so some general information that says, I would say do the work. Do with yourself first. Really get to know yourself, because you're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing the person that you're wanting to be with or you are with a disservice if you don't know yourself. You guys have to be able to meet, and I can't meet your representative. I need to meet who you are. And be okay with being who you are, because that's the only thing and the only way you're really going to have true happiness. Spend some time with God.
Powerful. Love that, Bashea. And thank you so much. And again, share with Source Nation, how can we get more information about you and continue to support you in your efforts?
Everything is Bashea Williams. Again, my website is BasheaWilliams.com. You can find me on Instagram at Bashea Williams, on Facebook at Bashea Williams, on Twitter at Bashea Williams. My YouTube is Bashea Williams. Also, I do an Ask Bashea segment where you can send in your questions, and I'll answer them either on YouTube, on Instagram, or on Facebook. And I am completing my book now, and it's Dear Future Wife, A Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. So be on the lookout for that coming out in the next couple of months.
Awesome. Well, you know, and this is what I was going to ask you. Of course, I have another show that I do here on the platform, strictly for the ladies on Friday night, called The Ladies Lounge. So I definitely would love to have you back to talk with us about another great subject. And, hey, when the book is ready and you're ready to preview it with a listening audience, Source Radio Network is here. It is definitely home for you, so you come back anytime. Love it. Yes, I love our conversation, and thank you so much for being here. Bashea, you have given us some great information and definitely something that we need to think about in our relationship. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to you again soon. Okay. Bye-bye.